From deep inside the crypt, we shine a light on legends and the creatives who keep them alive. Whispered through graveyard fog or shouted on haunted midways, their stories linger. This is Working the Fright Shift.
Clock into Working the Fright Shift, the gateway between imagination and fear, with your host, Ted Doherty.
Welcome to Working the Fright Shift, where every tale leaves a mark and every fear has a heartbeat. Today, we welcome our amazing guests, Shawn and Carmelle Marshall of Parks and Cons, to peel back the veil. But first, we trace the shadows in this week's Horror Blueprint.
The Horror Blueprint, the art behind the fear.
Today, we are stepping into a world where fear is fun, creepy is cool, and horror isn't just a genre. It's a thriving community. Horror conventions have gone from small fan meetups to massive events packed with diehard fans, industry pros, and curious newcomers looking for a thrill. These conventions aren't just about grabbing autographs or stocking up on horror merch, even though that's definitely a highlight in all of it. They bring people together who live and breathe the genre, whether it's movies, haunted attractions, makeup effects, or the art of a good scare. Across the United States, conventions like Monsterpalooza, Midsummer Scream, Horror Hound, and Spooky Empire, they all create a space for horror lovers to celebrate all things creepy and twisted. You've got celebrity signings, panels with horror legends, makeup demos, and deep dives into storytelling and special effects. Basically, a crash course in everything scary. Now, some conventions like Midsummer Scream and Spooky Empire, they go beyond horror movies and tap into the haunt industry, offering presentations from theme parks, haunt creators, and professional scare makers who show how they bring the nightmares to life every season. And then there's haunted house trade shows that focus on animatronics, masks, and props for creating attractions every year. But what really makes these conventions special? It's the astronomical amount of creativity, from mind-blowing prosthetics and effects to film showcases and haunted attraction previews. These events put artistry on display in the coolest way possible. And honestly, one of the best things about horror conventions is the community. Horror fans are a tight-knit bunch, and at these events, you're surrounded by people who just get it. Whether you're swapping stories about your first haunted house, picking up scare techniques from haunt pros, or geeking out over next-level cosplay, there is a real sense of belonging. But that wasn't always the case. We didn't always have a place to gather. One of the first horror cons I attended, being here from Southern California, it was a traveling convention, and it was Fangoria's Weekend of Horrors. Back in the day, this was the spot for horror fans. The panels were legendary, featuring icons like Wes Craven, Clive Barker. I remember seeing Betsy Palmer from Friday the 13th and the whole cast of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, on and on and on and on. But the real highlight for me was the vendor area. Before the internet made horror merchandise easy to find, this was the only place I could snag horror collectibles. Then many years later, there came Monsterpalooza in Pasadena, California. Basically, a love letter to monster makeup and movie magic. Hundreds of exhibitors, live makeup demos, full-sized creatures and props, some of the best horror artists in the entire industry. It's an absolute must for fans of creature design. But for me personally, the biggest convention I look forward to every year is Midsummer Scream in Long Beach, California. If you love Halloween, this is the place to be. They have the Hall of Shadows. It's something extremely unique at conventions. It's an entire area of the convention center that's fully darkened out with eerie theatrical lighting, but it's a haunt showcase with walk-through scary attractions ranging from home haunters to full-scale pro haunts. In 2024, we created an officially licensed Lionsgate attraction featuring scenes from Saw, Cabin in the Woods, and The Strangers, live actors and everything. It was amazing. We were surrounded by incredible home haunts and independent haunts. It was just incredible. Plus, the panels are stacked with Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, Scary Farm, 13th Floor, many, many more. I've been on the stage with many of these companies, everyone bringing our A game every year. Now, over on the East Coast, there is Spooky Empire in Orlando, which mixes horror film screenings, celebrity panels, tattoo artists, and a killer vendor floor packed with collectibles. Now, personally for me, I've never been, but I've watched tons of videos. Universal Orlando, HHN, has done announcements there in a panel. Very cool stuff. But on the flip side of these conventions, we do have something for the haunt professionals. We have haunt trade shows. Now, the first one I ever attended was a really long time ago, way back in 2004. It was named Death Fest. It was later renamed Haunt X. It was tiny. It was small. It was in the Santa Maria Inn in Central California. It had free workshops. They had the Dead Vine wine tasting tour where they took us to different wineries and hearses, awesome networking and vendors. We even did a panel and a poster signing for the Season of Screams documentary about Not Scary Farm that I was a producer on. There's been many haunt conventions throughout the years. There's HauntCon that traveled all around. I went to the North Carolina one, Dallas, Baton Rouge. Then later it teamed up with the Halloween and Party Expo in New Orleans for a little while, so I went to a couple of those. But there's been tons of haunt conventions throughout the years. Even outside the United States, there's ScareCon. And according to their website, ScareCon is Europe's only trade show for the scare attraction and horror industry. They've been around celebrating since 2007, and they feature exhibitors, workshops, seminars, and their iconic scare ball with an annual awards ceremony. But nowadays in the United States, we have Transworld's Halloween and Attractions Show, the biggest haunt trade show in the country. Well, I think it's probably in the entire world. I can't imagine anything bigger than Transworld. This is in St. Louis every year. If you run a haunt, a theme park Halloween event, I mean, this is the place to go to buy animatronics, props, masks, all the tech needed to bring the terror every Halloween season. And horror has even creeped into other pop culture conventions like San Diego's Comic-Con, where off-site installations like The Walking Dead Escape, the Shaun of the Dead pop-up, and FX's American Horror Story Elevator, they added creepiness to the mix. Now, one of the coolest activations I really wanted to do was named Purge City. My friends Shawn and Carmelle went. It sounded so much fun. It was a pop-up shop that took the idea of like a party city, and they turned it into a Purge surplus store, as if the Purge was real, complete with masks, emergency candles, razor wire. Visitors could use Purge dollars to buy themed merchandise, interact with over-the-top enthusiastic staff, and really kind of step into the chilling world of the Purge right before the TV series dropped. Now, each of these conventions plays a unique role in shaping the horror and haunt industries, offering fans and professionals a chance to connect, to learn, and experience the best in horror entertainment. There's tons of these shows all over the place. I'm just kind of scratching the surface. But these horror conventions aren't just gatherings. They're the beating heart of a passionate and thriving community. In a world where horror is sometimes misunderstood, these events create sanctuaries for fans, creators, and industry professionals. At their core, these conventions remind us that fear isn't just about terror. It's about emotion, creativity, and the thrill of shared experiences. As long as there are people eager to immerse themselves in the macabre, horror conventions will continue to thrive, serving as essential landmarks in the ever expanding landscape of fear. Every panel discussion, haunted attraction, costume contest, cosplayer, vendor, and midnight screening, all of that reinforces what it means to truly celebrate horror. They establish the connections, culture, and inspiration that ensure the genre's longevity within the horror blueprint. The horror blueprint showed us the architecture of the psyche, but behind every cracked mirror and warped hallway lies intention. Now, if Southern California Halloween had a heartbeat, Shawn and Carmelle Marshall would be its pulse. As the amazing duo behind Parks and Cons, they are passionate pop culture fans, historians, and experts for some of the biggest conventions like San Diego Comic-Con. But they are also Halloween event authorities, and they have spent years chasing the glow of jack-o'-lanterns and the echoes of chainsaws. From mega theme park spectacles to the twinkling lights of home haunts, their dedication to documenting the soul of Halloween in Southern California is unmatched. Your ultimate guides to the wild and wacky world of scary and fun things to do during Halloween, Shawn and Carmelle Marshall of Parks and Cons are this week's Fear Architects.
Fear Architects, crafting worlds of terror.
Welcome to Working the Fright Shift, Shawn and Carmelle. Thank you so much for doing this. How are the two of you?
We're good, hanging in there. Lots of stuff going on in the real world, but we're hanging in there. We're good.
Yeah, thank you. And we're very excited to learn what this podcast all is more as the season continues.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for being here. And I do have questions for you. Are you ready?
I think we are.
Okay. So. Carmelle, this is for you first.
Yes, sir.
What sparked your shared love with Shawn for Halloween? And when did you realize it had become a full-blown passion project for the two of you?
Yeah, Halloween wasn't a big thing in my family's household. We just really didn't do much with it, like at all. I mean, we went trick-or-treating when we were kids, but we didn't do like elaborate costumes or whatever. It was like standard store-bought stuff. And then like the second year we were together, it's probably like 97, I think, we decided to go to Scary Farm for the first time for Halloween because we were too old to like do trick-or-treating, and we didn't do like a lot of parties or anything like that. And so we went with a group of friends and started going to Scary Farm on Halloween and stuff. And then with Parks and Cons, that's when, so probably about 9 years ago or something like that, maybe 10. Last year was our 10-year anniversary of Parks and Cons. So it was probably like that second year, maybe even the first year, we started to get exposed to home haunts, and then started covering like horror nights and all these other things. And so then it just became this thing of like, we've got to see as much as we can because so many of these things are so temporary, and we wanted to experience as much as we could. And so over the years, Shawn, of course, has a better memory for the exact years and exact numbers as they grew and stuff. But the more and more we learned and became familiar with things, the more it became this kind of, I wouldn't say obsession, but there have been years where I'm like, we've got to see as much and let's break the record. But I've eased up on the interest in breaking records of seeing like as many haunts as possible. Now it's like, okay, we've got to preserve our energy a bit more. But it's really been with the Parks and Cons growth that my exposure has grown, and that I've garnered a bigger appreciation for all the art and all the work that goes into it. Because before, I just didn't even know they existed.
So would you say, Shawn, that Not Scary Farm was an early spark that helped create the shared passion for the two of you before Parks and Cons even began?
Definitely, yeah, because that was something that was like it was one of our earliest shared experiences that became a tradition. And I'm big on like, every year we do this on this, and so we would go to Disneyland for Christmas became a tradition, and Knott's Scary Farm on Halloween night became a tradition. And so that was, I would say, really where it began. And then I think it was just gradually, we probably went a decade of just going to Knott's Scary Farm once a year on Halloween night. And then it's like, oh, maybe there's other Halloween things too. I said, oh, what if we go an extra night to Knott's Scary Farm and things? But it was just kind of this annual, like, this is how you celebrate it thing in a lot of ways until probably around 2014 when we started Parks and Cons. And it's like, okay, we want to cover more of this stuff. And then, with the haunt world, particularly being so fortunate living in Southern California where it's so rich, it's just like every door opens 100 more doors that you're like, oh, wow, there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this, and you meet the people, and it becomes really addictive to want to see as much as you can in what is the long Halloween window, but at the same time, very short when you consider how many things there are in California.
For folks who are unfamiliar with the scale of Halloween in this region of Southern California, especially when it comes to home haunts, can you describe what makes this region unique? And can you also let us know how many unique stops you had last year so people could get an idea of how many options that there are out here?
Yeah, so last year it was 148 unique stops. And so that includes like Knott's Scary Farm is one stop, but also like basically if we can podcast on it and we can post social on it, we will cover it and count it. So that includes a whole bunch of yard displays where the owners sometimes or oftentimes the owners don't even realize they're being covered, and they'll find us later on social media and like they'll build names off of maybe the name we give it as a temporary placeholder, things like that. But there are so many incredible haunts beyond just the theme park world and the professional haunt world. And I think that's the thing that became so seductive about the season is there's so many talented people, because obviously we live in a place where there's a lot of prop building, movies, makeup, like it's an epicenter for all of that. But it all has a trickle down because so many of these incredible home haunts, the people don't necessarily even work in that profession, but they are inspired by it. And they're inspired by Knott's Scary Farm and Horror Nights and Dark Harbor and these things. And they know people. There's incredible groups like Cal Haunts, obviously, where they teach each other these things. And so it's really becomes just this giant community of sharing. And I think the explosion of social media has helped make that even more possible, where there's so many haunts that get to be shared. I know it's like we love doing video, social media, all of that, because it's always crazy to me to look at how many people we have that follow us from other countries, from, on the East Coast, Alaska, all these things. And people will reach out throughout the season and beyond. And a lot of times at the end of the season and say, we're so appreciative of seeing the things you guys have in California, because I've never been out there. I'd love to get there one day. But, being able to see, the farm in Saw Slaughter or Restless Souls Manor or, Beware the Dark Realm, Rotten Apple. There's so many of these incredible home haunts, all this stuff in the IE that we've seen with Reichman Asylum, Helser, you go on and on and on. And these things are like prolific, and they've become, I think, for us and for fans of home haunts, like I know yourself, they've become really as big a part of the season, if not bigger, than going to Knott's Scary Farm or Horror Nights. Like those ones kind of kick off the season because they start in early September, mid-September. But by the time we get to like second, third week of October, it's just pretty much every night we're just driving and driving and driving to see as much as we can.
Think about that. 148 unique stops, and Parks and Cons did not see all there is that's out in this region. They are only able to hit what they can within the short period of time that these home haunts are operating. It's staggering. Now, when you are covering a home haunt, what elements instantly capture your attention and elevate the experience to a must-see status?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, or I guess what kind of initially draws the attention is the uniqueness of the specific experience. If there's lighting, if it's handmade or custom made props and things, I think that is really what stands out. I mean, of course, inflatables and, kind of out of package decor and stuff is awesome. And whenever any area has decor, and we appreciate anything that people are willing to do to decorate. And enhance the Halloween season for their neighborhoods, because so many of them are doing it just kind of for their neighbors or for themselves, or just to have these cool things. But if it's not unique, or it's not customized in some way, or put together in a unique way with fog or lighting or soundscape or that type of thing, we appreciate it, but we won't cover it. We won't like take photos and post social on it. But as we're going through, it's like, oh, that's cool. It's awesome that they do that. But yeah, really, there needs to be some sort of unique artistic aspect to it. Again, even if it is all out of box stuff, but if it's put together in a way that with the lighting or the fog or something that makes it different, makes it unique, makes it, someone put effort into it, we will cover it. So I think that's kind of what stands out first as far or foremost in regards to something that we'll cover.
And I think for us, one thing that really helps in like keeping track and deciding like what to cover and like what to count is everything we look at, it's like, can we talk about it on a podcast? And so if we pull up to a house, and again, so we probably see 300 different displays, but if we pull up and it's, again, it may be the hit of the whole time. I mean, a lot of times we'll see like the house that won the contest for like best decorated house, and it's all Home Depot inflatables or something like that. And it's like, it's again, anything that celebrates the season, we are all for, but it's not something that we'll bring onto the podcast. So we're really looking for uniqueness. The SoCal haunt list is always like the guiding force. It's like where we start to find things. And then Carmelle really maps out from there, like regions. And what we find is these regions grow and there's more and more. So like Temecula, it's like, well, let's go down there and check out this one thing. And then it becomes these, it's like Wolf Creek leads to Anton, and Nightmares. They move down there as well. And before you know it, it's like, well, this is a full night. Like this is a full night of experiences down here, and they're all incredibly unique. And so that uniqueness, if it had to be summed up in one word, I think it's the uniqueness of each house. And so that's where we really look the most.
You have your Not Scary Farm Patreon event, and it's a highlight for your fans, for me. What makes that stand out from other Halloween experiences for you?
Whenever you can bring a group of friends to go experience the granddaddy of them all and Scary Farm and stuff, it's special. And then to bring together this group of people who are Parks and Cons crew, even if they didn't start as friends, I think we count them all, at least the ones that we've met in real life. There's still crew members that we haven't even met in person, but the ones that we have are all good people and fun to hang out with and fun to spend time with and stuff. Whether it's a Comic-Con thing or a Scary Farm thing, we've enjoyed our time with the crew. And that night, bringing a group of fans of varying degrees, because obviously you've written history books on Scary Farm, and then there's some people who are experiencing it for the first or second time and stuff. So this varied levels of experiences is kind of a unique thing. And to be able to bring everybody together to share a meal at the pre-scare dinner, the buffet, is just really fun and feels, like this kind of cool community. And over the years, even the people within the crew have become more familiar and have also kind of become friendlier and get more comfortable in that group and stuff. And then to be able to top it off with a unofficial walk around talk lesson from the historian Ted Doherty, it's definitely a highlight, I think, for everybody who goes. And it is one of the things that that marks it as a particularly unique event, to be able to spend time with everyone and then to get these really cool historical lessons and stuff in whatever capacity each year brings is like really, really big highlight.
That is like my kind of highlight is, and I think, every year when, because you've been obviously able to come to this event and been a big part of the event and talk about it, and just looking around at the various members of the crew with like their jaws all agape as you're telling some story. And I love that. I just love that because, obviously if people follow along with us at all, it's no secret that, I stood in line to buy your book, or Carmelle and I stood in line to buy your book and get your autograph before we ever knew you. And we won a contest from Knott's to do one of your tours of Ghost Town. So we're massive fans of all the stuff that you've done before this podcast, or before we knew you as a friend. So obviously for me, it's so cool to hear whenever you're talking history. And we've had the good fortune of like the shows we did with you during the pandemic, the time traveling. We've gotten a lot of time to talk haunt with you and hear you. It's just so cool looking around. I always love like snapping pictures as you're talking though. And then like over here's Colleen and Tim and Jamie, and you just look all around and everybody's just kind of like they're just mesmerized. They're just mesmerized. And everybody's in this moment of like we're in the coolest place in the world of not Scary Farm, but at the same time we're doing like this academic thing of looking back at history, which is so cool. And as somebody that really is a fan of nostalgia, and I think a lot of people that come into these various things that we cover with Parks and Cons are really susceptible to the drug of nostalgia. It's kind of like the best mix of everything is seeing these cool people that we know that are so supportive of us and we love, but also taking in this like academic lesson amongst the craziness of like killer clowns all over and talking about, these types of things going on. It's just fantastic.
Oh, thanks, guys. Wow, I really appreciate it, and it's always a pleasure and an honor for me to do that and be able to attend your event at Not Scary Farm. Now, just a couple more questions, then we can wrap it up. Each one of you, can you share a haunt that truly surprised you with its storytelling, its design, or even emotional impact?
I think the one that jumps out that's, maybe one I haven't already brought up, but The Curse of the Raven is something that really, I feel like it still surprises me. We see it every year, but there's something about the world that they build with the cracking of the light and the well and the details. And it's just like, and there's not a ton of haunts around their home. Like there's a little bit, there's a couple here and there. Like when we make our way over there, there's two or three on the drive, but it's not a place like Burbank where every single house is there. But then you just come and you're like, if this house just dropped in the middle of horror nights, everybody would be like, this is awesome. Like this
Hmm.
display, this theming here, they throw a couple actors there is really, so there's, that in terms of one that's really well established. Then real quick, if I can, just of two that were like, just they didn't, I don't want to say they didn't exist because they were doing it, but just it was Pirates of Cindy Court in Corona and then Chains of Wakefield in Anaheim. They're both these home haunts that just go all out. And they're ones like Carmel and I'll talk about, like, well, they deserve a name, but they didn't have names at the time. So we like
Hmm.
just gave them a name on social media and then they leaned into it. But like Pirates of Cindy Court, what they do with recreating Pirates of the Caribbean is like nothing I've ever seen. There's so many great things out there in terms of Pirates of the Caribbean. There's so many that we love, but there's something about the way they have that yard shaped and circled and stuff that really, really enjoyed. And so, I mean, the list goes on and on. And probably if you asked me again in 5 minutes, I'd have new answers. But those are the ones that just kind of are jumping out of my head at this exact moment.
Awesome. And Carmel, what about you?
It is very challenging to like try to pick key ones because there's so many. Now, admittedly, Curse of the Raven is the first one that jumped to mind as well for all the reasons that Shawn said. It's just handcrafted, beautiful pieces that they put together, and every year they add stuff. And we haven't even been able to experience them on the nights where they have actors and or but they do have walk around characters and do the makeup and all those things. And Christy and Robert are always great and come out, and we've met their dog Leota.
Mhm.
Yeah, Leota, and stuff, and they're amazing, and the work is beautiful. But we haven't even experienced in its full form yet. And it's hard to like not mention like a rotten apple because rotten apple, yeah, yeah, in that Magnolia Park area of Burbank is a walkthrough. They've been doing it for over 30 years, I think, and every year they tear down and then they rebuild, or not rebuild, they build something brand new every year, and it's unbelievable. And they have story and they have actors, and the actors are their makeup is impressive. And even with the closure, they did a really cool haunted mansion facade where there was a lot of story and lighting and everything else, but it didn't involve walking through anything. It's like shocking. And obviously their work has been documented in lots of different places, and they kind of stand on on this different level relative to home haunts. But it is a home haunt, and it is in their yard. And I mean, the first year we experienced it, they had these walls, these rock walls that like rival things that you would see at Disney, and then to find out, oh no, they're going to tear it all down and then build something completely different the following year. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Because it's like insane to me how much work they put into it.
Yeah, Rotten Apple, I mean, they changed everything for us. Like if there was one home haunt that changed everything. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of people, that once they experience that, because, our friends Rick and Johanna of Theme Park Adventure, they were like, our favorite part of Halloween's home haunts. And it was like, what? Like for us starting out, it's like, home haunts, really? And I was like, oh, cool. We'll see some cool tombstones and things. And then, you pull up to Rotten Apple and you're like, how is this even possible? Like, how is this a thing that exists? And you go on, though, years later and you see, well, in addition to Rotten Apple, there's the farm, there's Samhain's Lot. I mean, there is Sombras. And then you go to these places, Beware the Dark Realm, and you're like, whoa, the first time we saw Restless Souls Manor, and you're just like, and it's crazy because it's like, these are not as good as theme parks. And oftentimes they are better than these mazes in ways. And I say in the same way of like, there's reasons that some of the art that you find on Etsy is better than things that you'll find, at a gallery. Maybe there's just a difference there. And there's such a passion behind it. And the people are just the absolute best. Like, that's the thing we always say too, like, Comic-Con's our biggest thing to cover by far. It's our biggest numbers, biggest. And we love Comic-Con and we love all of the friends we have and people, but there's like no one warmer that we find than just pretty much every haunter, like pretty much every home haunt. And it's interesting because it's like at the core, pretty much every home haunter just wants to bring some happiness to the kids in their neighborhood. They didn't really start it so that some website would come or take video. Like they did it so that a kid on the corner would have a really cool Halloween. And that's just so mind-blowing. It's such a cool act of service and kindness.
Yeah, the Southern California home haunt scene is indeed absolutely magical. It's just wonderful. We love Curse of the Raven with Christy and Robert, and of course, The Farm and Rotten Apple, on and on and on. We could go on forever and ever. There's so many, but I only have one more question for you. It is a bonus question. Carmelle, I'll ask you first. Are you ready?
Go.
Best trick or treat Halloween candy and why?
Oh goodness. I think I would go with Reese's Buttercups, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. It's probably like, because it has this salty kind of with the peanut butter and the chocolate, of course. It's such an iconic candy. Now, I'm not opposed. I love candy corn as well. I like a lot of candies, but at this moment, the Buttercups are probably going to be what I'll say. But I like a lot of different candies, and it changes with my mood. So my mood right now is Reese's Buttercup. Sounds good.
Very good. Love it. Shawn, what about you?
Well, for me, it's undoubtedly Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, but there is no second or third or fourth or A or B or C. It's only that today. Unlike as we talk about all these haunts, and I'd have different ones if we recorded a half hour from now. I would never have a different answer to that question.
I love both of them. I love all of it. Shawn and Carmelle, where can people find you and follow along on all of your amazing adventures via Parks and Cons?
So Parks and Cons, we have our website, parksandcons.com, is kind of a hub for everything. We have the podcast. We're getting close to 1,000 episodes, so you can find us wherever you find podcasts there. We usually record in the neighborhood of 50 podcasts related to Halloween every year. Somewhere, it's not always that much, depends how we combine it, but there's a whole lot there. And then beyond that, of social media, on YouTube, on Threads, on Twitter, on TikTok, on like YouTube, Instagram. Yeah, I mean, of course, Instagram is the biggest thing when it comes to haunts normally for us, but pretty much most places on social media, all of them, everywhere, very consistently, Parks and Haunts.
Shawn and Carmelle, thank you so very much for working the Fright Shift. Shawn and Carmelle have given us a glimpse into the blueprints of dread. Thank you again, Parks and Cons, true fear architects. And now we'll unearth the haunted footnotes of history and reflect on how those chills left ghostly imprints on my own creative work in Echoes of the Past.
Echoes of the past. The origins of scare experiences.
For me, and I'm guessing many of you, Halloween isn't just a holiday, it's a whole vibe. It's that crisp autumn air, the glow of porch lights, and that electric anticipation before trick-or-treating. It's the movies we watched as kids, the ones that stuck with us and shaped how we see fear, magic, and mystery. For those of us who ended up working in the Halloween industry, those early monster movies weren't just fun, they shaped our work. They taught us immersion, atmosphere, pacing, and that delicate balance between fear and fun. So today, I'm going to take a trip down memory lane back to the top 5 family monster movies and or Halloween specials that shaped my love for horror and influenced my work. So let's step into the glow of Halloween nights past. So first off is a movie named Mad Monster Party from 1967. This taught me a lot about creating worlds and the art of true immersion. Well, before I was into haunted houses, before there was the jump scares, for me, there was Mad Monster Party, a Rankin Bass stop-motion gem of a masterpiece. I love it so much. I first watched this as a rerun on a show named Family Film Festival on Channel 5 here in Southern California as a very young kid. I wasn't alive when it first came out, but many years later, I almost kind of thought I dreamed this movie. It was like this very, very vague memory, until I found it at some point in the late 1980s on VHS. I was like, oh my gosh, there's that movie. I watched it on video and I fell deeply in love with it. If you've never seen it, well, you should, but the basic idea is Dr. Frankenstein, voiced by the amazing, incredible, legendary Boris Karloff, he discovers his ultimate scientific achievement, a formula that destroys all matter. And he's so excited by this that he needs to invite everyone to his castle to share this discovery, but also to announce his retirement. So those he is going to invite are all the classic monsters, his friends. Dracula, the Mummy, the Werewolf, Jekyll and Hyde, the Hunchback, the Invisible Man, the Creature, and more. He invites everyone over for one last gathering. But when he reveals his replacement, his nerdy little nephew named Felix Flanken, chaos erupts among the monsters. Now, even though this wasn't a Halloween special, this movie felt like Halloween. Creaky castles, misty corridors, classic monsters, the sets, the details, the atmosphere. It all felt real to a little kid. All those details that you see in the Rankin Bass movies like Rudolph and all those Christmas classics, it's all right here, but it's on the creepy side of things. That level of immersion is exactly what I aim for in every haunted experience that I help create. If guests feel like they've stepped into another world, well, I feel we've done our job. Next one up is Raggedy Ann and Andy in The Pumpkin Who Couldn't Smile from 1979. This, to me, represents the magic hour of Halloween. This is another one of those hidden classics, a Halloween special not a lot of people talk about, but I never forgot it. It's about a lonely, forgotten pumpkin who sits abandoned in a patch, sad that he won't be part of Halloween. Meanwhile, Raggedy Ann and Andy set out to help a young boy who isn't allowed to go trick-or-treating. Their paths cross, and together they bring the pumpkin and the boy the Halloween experience they were both missing. This was written and directed by the incredible Chuck Jones, who I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have seen his amazing work with the Looney Tunes and Warner Brothers back in the day. One of the best who ever lived, created some of the most hilarious cartoons ever. But the vibe for this, to me, is pure autumn nostalgia. The neighborhood setting, the trick-or-treat excitement, the way the sky shifts during the magic hour. It all hits perfectly for me. That golden twilight glow, the buzz of Halloween night, those moments stuck with me. And that's exactly the feeling I live for when it comes to Halloween nowadays. The magic hour, the late dusk, early twilight, became one of the most formative aesthetic memories of my childhood. When you finally get to put on your costume and you can get ready to go trick-or-treating. It was that dreamy time of evening when I did the same thing as an adult when I was preparing to go on stage to scare thousands of people at Not Scary Farm. Or nowadays, when we're about to open an event. That anticipation, that excitement, it's all the same thing for me. That golden glow slowly fading into deep blues. It's a visual thread that ties my childhood joy to professional Halloween. Maybe it does the same thing for some of you, too. Next up, number 3 is The Ghost and Mr. Chicken from 1966. This taught me that horror and comedy can live in harmony. I grew up being a big fan. We always watched The Andy Griffith Show. So when you take Don Knotts, a haunted house, nervous, bumbling terror, what more could you want? Again, this is not a Halloween special, but it ties together for me. So if you've never seen it, a wannabe reporter Luther Haggs, played by Knotts, wants to prove that he's got guts. So he spends the night in the town's haunted house where a murder took place years earlier. The house is rumored to be cursed, and the scary organ music that plays at night only makes it creepier. This was the first movie that taught me how horror and comedy can work together perfectly. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is a close second for me, but I didn't see that until much later on. I watched Ghost and Mr. Chicken reruns pretty early on in life, probably on Family Film Festival. But seeing Don Knotts terrified yet determined to solve the mystery was incredibly entertaining. But what struck me most was the balance. Horror works best with ebbs and flows. In my attractions, even if the theme is dark and intense, like something like The Purge or Saw, there's always room for a little humor, an unexpected moment that makes guests laugh just before they scream. It's that rhythm, that pacing that keeps people hooked. And I first learned that years and years ago from watching The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Next up, number 4. The Flintstones Meet Rockula and Frankenstone from 1979. This taught me the attention to detail, the importance of that, and that monsters can be fun. So yes, the Flintstones in a full-blown monster movie. I found this one at a video store, maybe Blockbuster, back in the 80s or 90s, and I must have watched it a zillion times. If you've never seen it, Fred and Barney win a trip to Count Rockula's castle where they accidentally wake him up from his centuries-long sleep. The Count is thrilled to be back, but he mistakes Wilma for his long-lost bride and kidnaps her. Chaos and comedy ensue. Well, Halloween and monsters should be fun. This one was goofy, silly, and full of that old-school animation charm. The backgrounds are really detailed and vivid. I love it so much. And even in my work nowadays, I aim to capture that feeling, whether it's pure terror or a more playful take on Halloween. Lastly, number 5, of course, it's The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown from 1966. To me, this captures the heart of Halloween. So there's no way that I could leave this off the list. So hopefully you've all seen this, and if you haven't, shame on you, but just in case, while the Peanuts gang enjoys Halloween, trick-or-treating, parties, and costumes, Linus skips it all to wait in the pumpkin patch, convinced the mythical Great Pumpkin will appear. To me, this is the definitive Halloween kid movie, and adults love it too. The muted autumn colors, the cozy neighborhoods, the dreamy Vince Guaraldi soundtrack. It's the ultimate comfort watch. And it's a reminder that even in the world of intense, scary attractions, the core of Halloween is about joy, excitement, and that perfect mix of mystery and wonder. Halloween has always been about transformation. From people changing into something else for a night, from childhood innocence to professional horror, from neighborhood trick-or-treating and home haunts to full-scale haunted attractions. And honestly, I know I'm just scratching the surface. I could name a dozen more of these movies and Halloween specials, but what about you? What are the childhood Halloween specials that stuck with you? Think about it. The ones that, when you see them now, immediately bring back the magic of those early Halloween nights. Halloween memories run deep for people like me, and I'm guessing maybe people like you as well. And as I continue working in the Halloween industry, I know I'm just chasing the same feelings that I had as a kid, only now I get to create them for others. And that is the true magic of Halloween, sifting through the echoes of the past. And just like that, our shift comes to a close. Huge thanks to our fear architects, Shawn and Carmelle Marshall of Parks and Cons. Within these stories is the blueprint of fear itself, how we face it, how it transforms us, how we create it, and sometimes how it sets us free. If you liked what you heard, do us a favor and tell a friend to tell a friend. Give us a good review, 5 stars, and help spread the word. Thanks for spending your nightmares with us. I'm your host, Ted Doherty. Beast wishes, and until we meet again, it's officially time to clock out of Working the Fright Shift. Working the Fright Shift is written and produced by Ted Doherty. No portion of this recording may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written and express permission of the producer. All opinions expressed in this recording are solely those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the views of the producer or affiliates. For more details, visit www.workingthefrightshift.com. Copyright 2025, Ted Doherty. All rights reserved.